What is going on, Reed Nation? It's your boy Isaac Reed, and we're here with another reaction. If you never heard of What Culture, man, you need to go check their channel out. I did What Culture reactions months ago, and I never got a chance to go back to it because I was always doing other reactions where all my fans back then I would do a whole bunch of requests of reactions, but kind of I've been doing my own thing. Now, before we get into this video, I want to make sure I tell you guys real quick. I know a lot of you people been like giving me hate comments talking about, oh, there's this one guy, he gave me a hate comment talking about, oh, you're every other black reactor, you know, you're trying to be like Jinx and all them other people like Couples Reacts, DMB Nation. First of all, I do reactions because I enjoy doing reactions, and I love doing reactions so my fans know how I feel about certain things. So when something comes out, they won't be like, oh, how does he feel? Oh, he never reacted to it. Or if something big happens, I want my fans to know how I feel, and so I can, you know, get in the comments and see what they say. I love doing reactions. I don't do reactions just to do reactions, just to get popularity. You know, I just accidentally got popularity off reactions. You know, I never thought reactions would get me big. It just happened. You know, reactions don't always make everybody popular. Look how certain other people do reactions, but they never get any, you know, fans. I just want to let you guys know that I'm Isaac Reed and Isaac Reed only. Do not compare me to any other reactor. I am nothing like any other reactor. I'm not like Jinx or nobody. So don't compare me to any other reactor. And yes, we just hit 2,000. I think we had 2,900 subscribers already, or we're at 2,890. Man, this is awesome that you guys keep subscribing. But Woke Culture, they're awesome. So the video is called 10 Weakest Members of Popular Wrestling Stables. Now, we know a lot of popular wrestling stables, so we're going to see if any triggers are mined during this video. So make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe. Reed Nation, let's get into the video. I'm hyped.
Stables are one of the best things in professional wrestling, but in order for them to work, they need great members. Without Scott Hall and Kevin Nash leading the charge against WCW and the NWO, the group would have crumbled, and without Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, the Horsemen would have just been ponies. And without Heath Slater and the three-man band, well, they would have just been a bunch of jobbers. But in years,
they were though.
Doesn't quite belong. They don't fit the vibe of the group, and they just bring everyone else down a bit. It might not even be their fault because they probably just shouldn't have been added in the first place. Even the greatest stables have had one or two of these members, and while the NWO, they had like 45. Well, I'm Andrew with What Culture, and here are the weakest members of 10 popular stables. Number 10, Steve McMichael in the Four Horsemen. When people think of the weakest horseman ever, Paul Roma immediately comes to mind. It's widely believed his involvement was a complete disaster.
He was one of the weakest. He wasn't as popular. He wasn't as popular as the other
entire wrestling business. But my counter is simply, yeah, but Steve McMichael. Roma was a good worker, and he was decent on promos, and he wasn't in the group all that long anyway to create any lasting damage. McMichael, though, was the equivalent of your once-in-shape uncle going through wrestling camp for a month and then skipping half those days. He was clunky, he was slow, and he was very green, and oh yeah, he was also one of the worst color commentators of all time.
Damn.
Rocco had the hot
I forgot he was a commentator
had the NFL
in WCW.
But this was the guy who was most well-known.
That's probably why nobody remembers him. I mean,
tiny dog. Roma 1, Mongo 0. Number 9, Samoa Joe in the Main Event Mafia. How can Joe be the weakest member of any stable? Well, it's because he was in one that he had no business in. The Main Event Mafia consisted of a group of former world champions.
I totally forgot he was in that group.
All banding together to teach that younger generation some respect. Sting, Kurt Angle, Scott Steiner, Kevin Nash, and Booker T.
I totally forgot they were all in a stable.
Then Joe joined them, and it really made no sense. Yes, Jenna Morasca and Tracy.
I mean, Samoa Joe shouldn't have joined them though. That don't make no sense either.
Joe, though, messed up the entire concept. He should have been leading the charge against the former main event.
Yeah.
But he willingly gave up the title, like the finger poke of doom, to let Kurt Angle win it instead, because that was a swerve, bro.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with Samoa and Joe.
Didn't bother wearing a suit like the rest of
I barely watched TNA anyway.
Braun Strowman in the Wyatt.
Yes, Braun Strowman. Oh my God, yes.
One of the most exciting acts to come along in years in WWE.
Braun Strowman did mess up the Wyatt family.
Everything good, so
it didn't make any sense to put him in there.
If Braun went down with an injury, they needed another member in the group, so Braun Strowman was called up to be the modern-day Mason Ryan. He was initially pushed as unstoppable, and he easily beat up Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns all by himself. But then management realized he couldn't do complicated wrestling moves like punching and running the ropes. Strowman was really just bad in the ring, and while Rowan wasn't exactly Ricky Steamboat, the man replacing him seemed like he should have been in developmental for another year.
Actually, Braun replaced Luke Harper.
Maybe 15 years.
Because
and really, what kind of scary hillbilly has a Superman tattoo anyway? Number 7, Terry Reynolds in the Radicals. Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero,
Oh.
Perry Saturn, and Terry Reynolds. Yeah, that was actually a thing that happened for a bit.
I do remember that.
The alliance didn't last that
I
long
do remember that
anymore, as
stable.
it was near the sad, bitter end of the once promising group. Benoit became a singles act, Guerrero went to rehab, and that just left Saturn and Malenko to carry on the Radicals' name. So Terry just joined them, and then
It didn't work out.
And sadly,
That
mop was actually more over than her. Number 6, Rodney and Pete Gas.
The corporate ministry. I remember that with Shane, and I think Shane was a part of that
too. Then they
too.
overstayed their welcome. The two real-life friends of
He was the one that controlling
They didn't have any wrestling training yet. They were given a decent-sized role on TV that others would have killed for. They encouraged their son-of-a-billionaire buddy on to victory at WrestleMania 15 against X-Pac, and that probably should have been it. But it was only the beginning of this awful nightmare, because when Shane and the corporation merged...
The corporate ministry was raw as fuck, bro. I tell you, bro.
So the Undertaker, Bradshaw, Farouk, Triple H, China, Viscera... And
that's crazy, bro. You have all them people in an actual staple, bro.
Number 5, Ron and Don Harris in the NWO. Where do you even begin to come up with...
NWO had too many people in their stable.
The company was in the group at one point.
Exactly.
You go with
had too many people
who had the charisma of a recycling bin, or what about WWF cast-offs like Michael Wall Street or Big Bubba? How about David Flair, who made Horace Hogan look like Ric Flair? There were a lot of really good choices, but I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to go with Ron.
NWO had too many
Harris.
fucking people, bro.
2 guys. Jeff Jarrett, Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Scott Steiner all joined forces in late 1999 to reform the New World Order, this time with black and silver. However, one by one, everyone became injured or left the group except for Jarrett and his 2 henchmen.
It just got boring. It got so stale. I mean, and it got stale when they came to WWE as well.
Hogan, Hall, and Nash dominating the wrestling world under the banner of the New World Order. 4 years later, it was Double J, Skull, and 8-Ball closing the curtain on the group. Number 4, Lex Luger in the Wolfpack. Luger was one of the most popular wrestlers in America in the early 90s. He was briefly positioned as the next Hulk Hogan.
It surprised everybody when he came to WCW.
He had his own bust. Lots of people loved him. There's really no doubt about that. But do I believe for one moment that Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Conan would hang out with him in their free time? No. Not for a second. I'm sorry. I just don't. During the Monday Night Wars, the Wolfpack was cool as a renegade breakoff from the NWO. Now, Macho Man joining the group was a bit odd, but you could still kind of buy into it. Sting was a bit of a stretch as well, because he always worked best as a loner.
Yes, I don't know why he joined that. I think that was a big mistake. Because him going against MWO was the best thing.
And he always had that look on his face that he'd rather be mowing a lawn than wrestling. It's nothing against Lex personally. He just wasn't meant to be a part of the Wolfpack for...
Lex fell off real bad,
really at all. Number 3, Hector Guerrero in LAX.
Hector Guerrero.
When Conan had a falling out with TNA and left the company, somebody needed to come in and take his place as the leader of the badass LAX. Management didn't seem to search long for his replacement, though, and they walked like 20 feet to the Spanish announce table to ask Hector Guerrero if he was interested, and he was probably like, okay. And then LAX, under the guidance of the former...
I barely watch TNA, so I'm just like looking at it just like...
Number 2, Lance Von Erich in the Von Erichs. Having the Von Erich surname was a ticket to start with WCCW. So Fritz, the patriarch of the family, thought it would be okay to just create another one. But instead of getting to work being a genetic jackhammer and making another kid and then waiting 20 years, he just picked up William Vaughn and then changed his name to Lance and then slapped a Von Erich label on the end of it and called it a day. He was the long-lost cousin of the family that nobody knew and nobody wanted. Of course, it just did not go over well. Fans knew he wasn't an actual family member, and they greeted him with the enthusiasm of a Roman Reigns versus Roman Reigns match, and that was physically possible.
No.
So Fancy Lancy, not a nickname he was actually given, I just came up with that, only lasted about a year before being politely asked to
killed
give
his
back,
ass.
and then having all of his future holiday invitations.
Didn't most of them die in a car accident?
And number 1,
I'm trying to remember.
Rocco in the Legion of Doom. The Legion of Doom will always be hawk and animal to wrestling fans.
Yes.
But a few other men and women also came along for the ride. Draws, Heidenreich, Sonny, and Christy Hemme.
No, Sonny, I knew Sonny was in there. But I ain't know the other people.
But there was one member
Sonny was a freak back then. She still is.
Even more so than Heidenreich. At SummerSlam 92, Hawk, Animal, and their manager Paul Ellering blared down the aisles on their motorcycle. It was a really cool visual, except for
them, bro.
A dummy named Rocco attached to the scariest, most dominant team in all of wrestling.
All this is coming right back to me when they mention it.
It would be like Scott Steiner hanging out with Chucky. As part of the storyline, that big, dumb, stupid doll was found by the group in a dilapidated house, and a half-assed reasoning was concocted that they wanted to get back to their Chicago roots. Behind the scenes, it was to try and sell some of those stupid, ugly, terrifying dolls. Sadly, Rocco did not last long, as Animal revealed later that he was lost at the airport. Don't go bother looking for him because
he probably did get lost.
Well, that's all for the list. Got any other weak stable members? Sound
Weak
off
stable
below.
members.
I'm Andrew with What Culture. You can follow me at Andrew Socek on Twitter.
They should have mentioned like the DX members. I know there's got to be one weak member from the DX. I can't necessarily remember. I think X-Pac might have been the weakest one. But yeah, when it comes to NWO, like literally, NWO had too many members. Like it was so many celebrities that you literally get featured on WCW. They all of a sudden come into WCW and they actually join the NWO. Like it was too many people joining the NWO, and it got super stale. Like I actually watched the NWO documentary. It just got stale. Like Virgil, I feel bad for the guy because he really didn't. He gained popularity in NWO, but like after it's just like he went down, man. I just really wish that these stables would have had less people instead of like gaining more. DX had too many people. I don't know. These stables are really weird. Like I just never thought that a stable shouldn't have more than like. I think stables should have like only 4 people or like maybe even more, but just not too many. Like the best stables I see so far is the New Day. Actually, Evolution was one of the good stables. DX was good. I don't know. Post your comments down below. Tell me what's your favorite stable and what stable do you think was the weakest? And if you got a stable that you think were the weakest, put down below like which one like superstar in the stable was the weakest. And I'll see you guys in the next video post. Reed Nation, we're out. Deuces.